Welcome to Real Estate Radio Live, an informative and engaging podcast discussing everything you need to know about the world of real estate. Your host, Joe Caccera, provides you with insight and guidance on how to buy, sell, finance, and invest in real estate. He also offers real estate tax management strategies, new construction advice, home improvement tips, and much, much more. And now, to guide you around the world of real estate, here's your host and Real Estate Radio Live team leader, Joe Caccera.
Welcome in. This is Joe Caccera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series. As we continue through the week, just a reminder, we're with you every day, Monday through Friday. You could tune in and listen. If you don't have the podcast, or if you're wondering where you locate this information, you could always go to iTunes, or you go to our website at reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. As always, in addition, if you need any assistance in the way of purchase financing, I can help you on that side. Maybe you're thinking about getting a purchase, getting qualified, refinancing, consolidating a first and second, or we have a great network of people here with Real Estate Radio Live. If you're in need of a real estate agent, financial planner, tax advice, legal advice, we like to think that we're one-stop shop here for real estate here on the West Coast. So check in, give us a call, 408-838-9060, or you could always email joe at reradiolive.com. All right, most of you know for 7 years plus now, our focus on this show has been education and information. We work really hard to have great guests like today, good content information, with one goal in mind. The objective really is to help you, the consumer, educate yourself, get you some information, not necessarily make you an expert, that we hope that we educate you enough so that you'll make wise decisions in who you choose in and around your real estate transactions. With that, let me invite in my guest, Rick Elmendorf. He is out on the East Coast, and happy to welcome him in with Better Homes and Loans with America's Military. He's a VA and military loan expert. Rick, good to have you on today.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, where exactly are you? Are you in Virginia? Is that correct?
Yep, just outside of Washington, D.C., about 10 miles west of the Pentagon.
So you're right in the thick of things, so to speak.
Yes, sir.
Anybody needs any information, if you want to know firsthand what's going on in D.C., that's the guy to contact.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I don't know how up I am on that. You probably just you'll probably see way too much about Trump going on in my area.
Yeah, I agree. So let's stick to the stuff that you and I know. I think we do a pretty good job, but I certainly know you are. I mean, you are. We'll get into some of the background, your statistics, and some of the remarkable things you've achieved out there. Before we do that, though, Rick, if you could give our listeners a little idea of maybe your background, where you grew up, and then you just bring us back up to date to your current roles and responsibilities and what you're up to today. Sure.
Well, I'm dating myself now. I've been in the mortgage business some would say way too long. But got in back in August of 1994, and prior to that, I actually played golf for a living for quite a while, and that's how I got into college. And my brother was a real estate appraiser, so kind of towards the end of college, I started doing real estate appraising, taking comparable photos and whatnot. And all of his buddies were all golfers, so it's pretty much it was kind of a natural fit going and be a real estate appraiser, right? Just
right.
That's all he did. Play golf, go do appraisals. They drank quite a bit, so I was like, okay, well, anyway, so that was kind of the lifestyle, right? And then I remember just I'm the kind of guy that just I like to be challenged a little bit, and I'm hanging around with a bunch of loans in my briefcase, and I'm like, who is this guy that's gotten I got 20 appraisal orders from the same dude.
Oh my gosh.
And I'm like, all right, I'm doing the math, right? I'm doing my math. I'm like, okay, $150 times, and I'm like, okay, I need to talk about getting in the mortgage business. I guess it really wasn't about the money. Maybe it was in the beginning, but, I was like, hey, this can't be that hard, right?
Right.
But, I called up. I listened to. Heard an ad on Christian radio, WAVA radio here locally, and made the drive about an hour and a half one way to a place up in Baltimore, Maryland. So from D.C. to Maryland, I spent my first 18 months in the mortgage business working for a mortgage broker, and literally learned it from the ground up. And kind of funny. Fast forward 20-something years later, I mean, it's amazing how minus, technology is much more advanced now, but man, we're back in like the same old credit guideline criteria and, kind of the same things that you had to look at and learn and make logical sense about at a loan file. So it's amazing how our industry is taking a full circle. But yeah, gosh, just getting me thinking about that.
Yeah, no, it really has. No, it's funny you mentioned that because I would say a lot of consumers would kind of echo our same thoughts and go, Are you kidding me, you guys? 20 years later, haven't you been able to devise something that you come up and close a loan a little bit quicker, or at least give me an idea of why they're asking me for another pay stub, or why do they want to know that $150 deposit that took place from my Aunt Nellie last week? I mean, what's going on here?
Joe, it's funny because back they used to ask for everything, and then they were asking for nothing and then everybody was a manager making $10,000 a month, right? And the no doc loans, and and the whole financial collapse put that to a kibosh, and that's a whole nother podcast, dude, about that sort of stuff. But
it is.
I'd love to be on that one, by the way. I have a lot of opinions on that. But anyway, and now everybody got all cautious, and the banks are putting all these just darn overlays on, what you have to check and this check, and it seems like everybody's a nervous Nelly with regards to extending credit, and now enters digital mortgage, and now we're coming into the digital age where the information of a consumer is so easy for us to get that the technology now is making it to where, you don't really need to give us a pay stub. You don't need to give us a W-2 and things like that. So it's getting back to that, I think, a good point where the consumer can feel comfortable that they're not getting hosed, right? And people aren't getting loans they shouldn't get, so the secondary markets are comfortable. But yet it's easier to get a loan. So wondering where our jobs will be 10 years from now. Right?
Yeah. No, I would agree, and I think that I would agree with you that on the information in the digital age. Of course, when you're in a market like ours, about 70 to 80% of my business is in jumbo, so we're still in the dark ages when it comes to
you are.
You have to have human beings looking at documents and tax returns and K-1s, but no, yeah, that's a good point about the digital age, and I think that if it's fairly simple, conforming, we're going to talk a little bit about VA and government with you for sure, but here we are, fast forward, we're still in this crazy business. It is a good business still, and one of the things that you've done a wonderful job at, I want to start to talk a little bit about now is, not only serving the community, a lot of us get into this business because we love the fact that we could help people get into their homes and home ownership, and especially first-time home buyers and move up and all these types of things. But so you have a niche, Rick, and it's quite unique in the majority. What is the percentage of the business first, I guess, that you do as far as government loans that you do out there or the VA loans?
Yeah, sure. So my team, we had a really good year last year. Our team funded just over $211 million into a consumer. That's about 500 in my area, about 560 loans, of which just over half of that, we're running over half, about 53%, I believe, is government. We did about almost 100 million was VA, so a home for it's the veteran loan. Yeah.
That's very good. It's a good number. So just to, and I'm going to brag about him because I know he won't, but some of Rick's numbers. Number one, folks, number one in Virginia, our number one VA and military lending specialist in the Metro D.C. area, ranked top 20 by National Mortgage News, top 100 loan originators in the Scotsman Guide. And for those who don't know the Scotsman Guide, it's a guide basically that follows the lending world and does a great job at tracking data and information on a number of different things, the top of the top loan originators, and then Chairman's Club for Caliber Home Loans. So, I could appreciate what you do, Rick, because I'm in this business and I have a pretty good business, but nowhere near what you do. So I could really respect and appreciate what you do at that type of volume. What did for the consumer's perspective, I know that, one of the reasons you built a team, of course, is to grow, but ultimately, my guess is you believe that the better the team, the more people you surround yourself with of quality people in using their strengths, you could pass that along as a better offer to the consumer. Tell me a little bit about why, and then how you are able to close that many loans and still keep your customer satisfaction rating up so high.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's all about replication. I mean, I think years ago I was really struggling as a loan officer. Doing about I was doing good business. I was a good loan officer, but I was kind of by myself, standalone, and that's where a lot of people in this industry are. And there's nothing bad about that. But the challenge is how am I going to grow? And I got stuck in the rut of all the things that have to be done in the mortgage business. Mm-hmm. There's things that just really aren't my bag. They really just not in my bag of tricks. And just like everybody, we can't be a jack of all trades.
Right.
So and I did an exercise. A gentleman by the name of Todd Duncan years ago impressed upon me the fact that if you do not have an assistant, you are one. And I spent 2 weeks writing down every single thing that I did. I mean, literally everything. Go get coffee, go to the bathroom, fax something, this and that. It was amazing. I literally on this pad of paper.
What a great exercise.
Oh, yeah, it wasn't very fun. But at the end of it, I realized, I'm like, oh my goodness. And I circled the things that I should be doing or I like doing, and then I redded and underlined the ones that I shouldn't, and I created basically a to-do list and a task list for my next hire. And that was my job description for my next hire. So
great.
The why was obviously maybe a little bit selfish, like I don't want to do these things, right? But also that I love what I do so much, and I feel like I can impact a lot of people. Mm-hmm. And the only way I'm going to be able to do that is and train my team to help me stay out of my own way. And I think that is probably more of the how thing, because we can hire assistants all day long, and people in business can hire assistants, whether you're in the real estate business, whether you're a consumer and whatever your job is. You can hire people, but if your people that you've hired don't push you away when you try to do their job that you hired them for, if you can get to that point, which is thankfully where I am now, my team tells me, Rick, go away. Rick, I got it. Go do what you do. And that's been a real blessing.
No, I think that's you hit it right on the head. What we're going to do, we're going to take a quick break. We come back, when we come back, I'm going to talk to Rick specifically now. We're going to dive in and spend the rest of the show talk about VA financing, exactly maybe what the Bay Area doesn't know, because our listenership here is primarily the Bay Area, even though we're podcasted all over the United States and even some international. But I do want to have Rick share with us a little bit about what's going on with VA, maybe some things here in the Bay Area that people don't know about. I'm going to ask him to educate us a little bit along the way. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. I'll be back with you to continue in just a minute.
For more information on today's program, visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com.
Hi, this is Joe Kuchera of Real Estate Radio Live. Thanks for tuning into our podcast. We are your go-to resource for all aspects of real estate, including buying, selling, refinancing, building, and legal and tax advice, and much more. You can subscribe to Real Estate Radio Live podcast on iTunes and Stitcher to listen to an engaging discussion about anything and everything real estate. So make sure you get our app, RE Radio Live, in the iTunes store to follow the show.
Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's topic or guests, just visit RERadiolive.com. That's RERadiolive.com. Again, your host for today's edition of Real Estate Radio Live, Joe Kuchera.
Welcome back in, Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live, the podcast series, as we continue our show today. Rick Elmendorf, he is a VA military loan expert, and he's the topic today is better home loans for America's military. We spent the first part of the podcast talking a little bit about Rick's background, the excellent work that he does. He's a top producing loan officer, has an incredible team out there in Virginia, and is doing a great job. And so I want to talk now, Rick, about, really kind of zero in, laser focus on VA financing, and the reason I want to do that is we don't see a whole lot out here, and I say out here, maybe in some areas of California that have lower loan amounts, but we're a pretty expensive place to live, and I know you are too, where you are. So maybe let's start this way. If you could kind of give us an overview of the consumers out there listening. They're either military, current military, retired, active, whatever, but maybe they also have family, friends, coworkers that are. What can you tell us, kind of give us a summary about the VA, why it's so important, and some things that people should be excited about if they could, qualify for them? Yeah.
Well, the VA loan has a long history, but mainly to really cut to the point, VA loan is for people that have served in the U.S. Armed Forces, and then there's a wide range. If you really want to look it up, how do I qualify for a VA loan? You can look that up online. I won't bore you with that details here. But probably the most outstanding thing that, from a consumer standpoint, that the VA sets apart the VA loan is the fact that it does not require a down payment. So typically in a lot of areas, you can do 100% financing. And it does not have what's called mortgage insurance. Typically when you put down less than 20% down, you're going to be hit with an insurance that you have to pay through the lender to get your loan. It's kind of insurance that, and just in case you don't pay your mortgage, then the lender's covered, right? So the VA is actually 100% guaranteed, and so lenders are in a lot of areas they're more comfortable to make these loans, and they're a lot more flexible for the consumer. So, for example, VA loans have really a much more flexible FICO requirement, like a credit score requirements, debt to income. If you maybe are borrowing at your higher end, a VA loan is going to be a lot more flexible than a conventional loan. And I got to tell you, just on a tangent, it bugs me to no end, and I think it's getting a little bit better, but it bugs me to no end of how poorly that the VA loan has been seen over the past several years among the real estate community. Really? It used to be, I know in our area, that not only sellers but real estate agents were scared of them. That's like in my area in D.C., they're going to send some dude from Raleigh, North Carolina, up to Washington D.C. to try to appraise a house and come in low, and they're going to make them shave the paint off the windows, and it was just ridiculous stuff. None of that's true. I mean, the VA loan is a normal loan. It is way more flexible than conventional. It's got better rates, typically about 1/4 to 0.5% better in interest rate than a conventional loan. Right. And again, the whole no mortgage insurance. And if a veteran has a disability rating with the VA, and this is by virtue of a lot of different things. If you're a veteran, you know if you'll have a disability rating or not. You don't have to pay this funding fee, which basically makes the VA loan that much cheaper. Wow. So help me not ramble on here. I've got so many things in my head about it, but it's such a great loan. It is. If you qualify for a VA loan, get a VA loan. A lot of things that people don't know about it as well, and some things to watch out for for the consumer standpoint. I've counseled so many people that have called in to some of the credit unions, some of the bigger companies who I will not name here, but they have encouraged borrowers to refinance to free up their VA loan so they could use it to buy again, thinking that, I don't have cash to put down. I need my eligibility. Don't ever refinance your VA loan to free up eligibility. It's not necessary.
That's a great
There's
point.
ways around that. You have what's called entitlement. And even if you've used up all of your entitlement, you still have the ability to get another VA loan. I see it all the time. In your area, people would have a VA loan in, Timbuktu, somewhere where the area is a little bit lower priced. And then they move out to San Diego, California. And then some bozo tells him to go refinance his loan so he can free up all of his eligibility to buy, to use his VA loan. No. You don't need to do that. You've used up a certain portion of it, but you can still have availability. And then, worst case, you can get a second mortgage behind the VA loan to go up to 100% financing. It's crazy. So you can do all those things.
Wow, that's really good to know.
Here's another interesting fun fact about the VA loan. The funding fee. So the funding fee is paid to the VA, and that's kind of like their upfront fee they get. And by the way, the VA allows you to finance it. It's anywhere from 1.25% up to 3.3% if you use it again in your financing, max financing. So the VA allows you to finance it. But a lot of people are in the process of getting their disability rating, but they don't have it yet. Now, it's not widely understood that, and even from the lending side of things, and a loan officer probably won't tell the veteran, hey, by the way, if you start your paperwork and if you get it in at least prior to your loan closing, you are eligible for a full refund of your funding fee that you paid the lender in the manner that you paid it.
Wow.
So,
really?
So for example, we just had a client that, I mean, his funding fee was like $10,000 plus or something like that. But he had his paperwork in. And a lot of times, by the way, you can fast track getting what's called a waiver from the VA, so the lender feels comfortable in not assessing the funding fee. It basically saves you $10,000 financing, right? Mm-hmm. But even so, if you finance your funding fee, there's a way where you can then, once you've received your rating, you send it in, you contact the lender, and you say, hey, I financed $10,000 of a funding fee, curtail my loan. And even some lenders will actually give them the money back in cash.
This is good stuff. So what, tell me a little bit, Rick, and again, I'm going to throw some question at you because, you know, a lot of people here are familiar with FHA. You know, that it's talked a lot about first-time home buyer and different levels. And, of course, our conforming loan limits over here are 636 and change, and then everything else is jumbo. But so on the VA, are there any things similar, like, you know, can you have non-occupant co-borrowers? Can you get gift funds? Tell me some of the things that you can or can't do that some people may not know or may not, you know, about VA financing.
Yeah. So VA, now you're talking to a sales guy, so I'll probably be 99% right in everything I say. You put a sales guy on the spot with guidelines.
Well, we're going to be in good shape with two of us on here then.
I will tell you this: VA is a lot more flexible with regards to all that you're saying.
Okay.
As far as gift funds, as far as the non-occupying thing, I will tell you this: what's very common that I'm seeing is that people are being told you cannot get a VA loan if you're trying to get a co-borrower that's not a veteran and not your spouse. But that's actually not true.
Really?
You can still do that.
Wow.
So it's just you calculate I have a whole spreadsheet to calculate this, but you basically still can do that. You just have to calculate your maximum loan amount slightly different, and you can still get that second mortgage like I was mentioning. So you can do 100% financing. So it's just a lot of flexibility within the VA. The bigger also is the flexibility with your approvals. I have a saying. I always say no to overlays. I mean, if you live in the broker world or if you're a consumer and your lender tells you no, you can't do it, or it may be just an overlay that they have. And overlays is designed as something that the lender has chosen to do or not do a loan based on criteria of the loan they're looking at. And it may not even be the rule of the VA. Right. So a lot of times lenders are saying no when the VA would actually say yes.
Right.
And a lot of times that the lender doesn't even know to do this, but the veteran can argue everything. It's crazy that if you don't like the value, argue it. If you don't like what the VA appraiser said about fixing something in the house, argue it. Really? You can literally argue everything. Okay. And I've had buyers, consumers, veterans who will basically get a waiver, like a hold harmless waiver, in order to say, hey, you know, I understand that's in the house. I'm cool with it. Give me a loan.
So expand on that a little bit. We have just a couple minutes left, but this is important. So you're saying that one of the things that a lot of people may not know about is if you're a veteran or if you're applying for one of these loans, you may have a little bit of fudge room with some things that typically your conventional financing wouldn't allow, and they're going to listen to some of this stuff?
100%. I mean, it's not like the veteran automatically becomes the loan officer and the underwriter and like, hey, you know what? I think my loan should be approved, so approve my loan. That's not at all what's happening here. I mean, but I'm just saying that the veteran has a lot of say in the matter, especially with regards to like sometimes property condition or, like I said, if it's a high ratio, it may just simply be that the lender is chosen to do that and that nobody's really fighting it. We fight that stuff. We have guidelines too. Everybody has guidelines, but I mean the consumer should be fighting some of these things. If your lender says no, why are you saying no? What is it? You know, let's look at this more creatively. Or is it really my back? Are you looking at it correctly? All these things. I mean, you have to look at it a lot more closely. There's a lot more flexibility with the VA loans than most would consider.
Wow, that's good stuff. We have about a minute or so left here, and I think what we'll do, Rick, is we'll have you back on maybe in the next month or so, because we got so many different things to cover. And but one of the things I want to finish up with, and I'll start and I'll let you finish, and that is, if you're listening to this podcast, you know anybody, maybe you're a VA, maybe you're a veteran, maybe your family member, father, mother, aunt, uncle, a relative. Do us a favor, forward the podcast, educate everybody out there. None of us love more than to be able to help a veteran get into a property, get into a home, get into a better situation. We hear it all over the place, but it is true. For the people that serve our country every single day, and for the cost of freedom, we don't understand it. And the people that face that day in and day out, the least we could do is provide services and products around the world for them that make their life easier. And this is one of them. And let's face it, home ownership is one of the most important things in the world. So from my perspective, if you're listening to this podcast, forward it to someone who cares, or someone that might be able to have an interest in helping someone get a VA loan that maybe didn't think they could. And with that, I'll let you kind of finish on your summary before we cut out here, Rick. Sure.
Thanks. It's such a cliche that we care about our veterans, and it's the message that's being sent. And I think it's really a heartfelt now, and most of us really, it's not just something people are saying now. It's what people are doing. Mm-hmm. There's a whole movement out there now that people are getting companies are becoming military friendly. They're hiring more military. They're hiring military spouses. We have a whole division really dedicated to doing things for our military borrowers, and really crazy stuff. So lenders are doing some really fun stuff too. People get deployed. There's even talk of some companies reducing the interest rate down to even as low as 3% fixed while somebody gets deployed, or if somebody gets reactivated.
Wow.
A lot of these things, helping people when they PCS, getting their lives in order, getting them all squared away. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of great financial planning companies out there. One of them that works directly with the U.S. military called First Command Financial Planning, and they do just amazing work for our military and veterans. So I just say it's not just a cliche. It's something that we're really focused on, and the people that have the heart to serve veterans, we've truly been blessed by helping as well.
Well, thanks. Real quick before we cut out, if anybody wants more information on the machine in which you run out there on the East Coast, how could they reach you? Do you have a website, phone number, email, or?
Yeah, you can reach me on my website. Probably best way is at rickelmendorf.com. It's Elmendorf, like the Air Force Base, if you ever really wanted to know that. Yep, rickelmendorf.com. Very good. Hey, Rick, thanks for your time, and I think we'll have you on maybe in a month or so, because we got some more to talk about here, but some other things going on in the industry. I'd like to get your take on maybe the future of mortgage and financing. We could throw a little real estate stuff out there as well. Great. All right. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Hey, continued success to you. Take care. Thank you, sir. Take care. Right. This is Joe Kuchera with Real Estate Radio Live. Again, thanks for tuning in today. For more information, you could always go to reradiolive.com. Until next time, take care.
You've been listening to Real Estate Radio Live. For more information on today's program, visit reradiolive.com. That's reradiolive.com. Subscribe to our podcast. Discover more at reradiolive.com.